Welcome to Living in 50 States, Episode 9, with Dr. Diane Dye, who's representing Carson City, Nevada. So thank you, Dr. Diane, for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm curious. I have so many questions about Nevada, and you corrected me already on that.
You corrected yourself.
Yes.
Yay!
Initially, I said Nevada, and then you had corrected me on Nevada, which I appreciate. So many questions for you, but starting, what brought you to the state originally?
So, interestingly enough, I moved to Carson City, Nevada quite on accident. And just for our earlier discussion, I have born and raised in San Antonio, moved to Coachella Valley, Southern California, then to more to the Inland Empire, and bounced around between there and Texas, Dallas area before accidentally landing myself in Carson City. And ultimately, I ended up taking a freelance job as the editor in chief of a magazine called Getaway Reno Tahoe, which is a localized travel magazine in the area that's on all the hotel
Oh,
rooms.
wow.
And ended up moving there quite by accident when my mother-in-law fell and shattered her pelvis while
Oh,
walking my dog. So I was interviewing for jobs back in LA when that happened, and I called my publisher and I said, "Hey, can I come do my editorial visit?" And he said, "Sure." I said, "Can I bring my dog?" He said, "Sure." So up I went to South Lake Tahoe, California,
oh,
not
I love
knowing
that
that it
area.
was going to eventually lead me to Carson City, Nevada, divorced, and restarting my life.
Well, congratulations on the new chapter, and that is quite a lot of traveling, I have to say.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. That all shifted up in 2011. I ended up living in Carson City for well over 11 years before life threw me somewhere else, and now I live in Austin, Texas.
Very nice. All right. Well, when you were in Nevada, I'm curious, the how would you describe the overall vibe of not only, sorry, let me correct myself, Nevada. I pronounced it wrong again.
No, you did it
When,
right. You
oh,
did
I
it
did?
right.
Okay.
You did it right. And for audience context, let me explain this. You can tell if someone is from Nevada by the way they say Nevada. If they say Nevada, you know they're from Nevada. If they say Nevada, there's entire bumper stickers about that.
Oh,
It's
wow.
Nevada, not Nevada.
That's
And
funny.
it's a whole state inside joke, by the way. So it's great that we started out by playing straight into that. But yeah, you'll
Good.
drive around, you'll see bumper stickers on cars that say that it's Nevada, not
That's
Nevada.
funny. I didn't know that. I had no idea. That's wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh. Well, when you were there, how would you describe the overall vibe of not only the state, but also Carson City?
Well, I think the state is very diverse. And a lot of people think, when they think Nevada, they think Las Vegas. And Las Vegas could not be farther than the truth for the entire state. So I would say that you have the Vegas type area, you have, all desert, super hot, all of the entertainment and the cachet of gambling Nevada and all that comes with it. And then you have Eastern Nevada. So swinging between Carson City and Vegas, you have the Eastern Nevada, which is mountainous and where you go elk hunting, and
Oh, wow.
it's totally different. And then you have Carson, which I love because it really is the land of both. In the valley in Carson City, you have the deserts, you have the plains, you have the base of the mountain. And the Sierra Nevada, it rests at the base of the Sierra Nevada mountains where you have beautiful Lake Tahoe, where people come from all over the world for recreation. So with Carson City, you really get the best of both worlds. And what I love about Carson City is that no one's trying too hard. It's
I
not
like that.
a place to go to be a try hard. It's a place to go and be authentic and be you. And it really felt for the first time in my life, and I've lived a lot of places, like I was part of a community. I wrote a column for the local news website called carsonnow.org. I acted in community theater there. I belly danced. I was
Wow.
on several boards. I just had the opportunity to do so much and be so much. And after, the life turning upside down and getting divorced, I needed a place to find myself. And Carson City definitely was that for me.
That's beautiful, the authenticity that the city offers. And I have to
It's a
say, I
Hallmark
absolutely,
town. It's a Hallmark town. Hallmark movies, Lifetime movies, they've been shot there. It truly is in so many ways a place where you go to really ground in to what matters. And actually, Kit Carson is my first cousin 8 times removed. And I always thought my mom was crazy for saying, "Oh, you're related to Kit Carson. You're related to Kit Carson. You're related to Kit Carson. Of course, you're going to Carson City. You're related to Kit Carson." And then I finally went on the ancestry.com
this is
and I
interesting.
traced it back. And sure enough, 8 times, I mean, that's a lot of marriages, 8 times removed,
Oh
but
yeah,
first
but
cousin,
still.
8 times removed.
So you are related to they and that person. Did they found Carson City?
He's a frontiersman who was Carson City was named after. He's an
Ah, well, that's
exploratory
crazy.
frontiersman who helped really forged the trail between the Midwest and the West Coast.
Wow, that's amazing that your family lineage traces back to the city. And
Hmm.
I do have to say, when you mentioned how it sits between, the mountains and more of like the other side, the valley.
Desert and plains,
th-
yeah. Hmm.
I was in South Lake Tahoe and I was forced because of going up and down the mountains, my brakes going bad. I had to go to Carson City on the other side. And I remember I was there for half a day, and it was a beautiful place with the mountain range right there, and
Hmm.
the sunset, and everybody was so nice. It was a special
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a great place to have to be stuck for a little bit. And a little known fact is that plaza there that's on between the Fox and between Mom and Pops there's a plaza that's just concrete. There's a splash pad, there's a stage, there's an ice cream shop, a hair salon, all the things. But this community plaza did not exist before the downtown 2020 committee got together and pretty much petitioned for it. We got a little bit of a bump tax added to create it, but that used to be a street before it was paved over into a plaza that is now a community gathering space that's right across from the Nevada legislature, making that downtown even more richer in terms of just community and spirit and liveliness. There's several pockets in town where you can have, that kind of central area. And what I love about Carson City too is a lot of the events are free. So the
Uh,
Brewery Art Center gets grants and they have free outdoor concerts. There's concerts and activities that happen in that plaza. There's so much that happens in Mills Park, which is the big park near the community center. Like there's so much that's free and accessible there that it's not a place where you go and you feel like, in Austin, I love Austin. There's a lot free to do here, but sometimes I feel like when I leave my front door, I sneeze and I spend $100. And I didn't
yes,
feel
very
that
expensive.
way. I didn't feel that way in Carson City. I felt like there was always something open, something free, something accessible, especially during the summer when it just comes to life.
So summer is their peak season, would you say?
Oh, absolutely. There's two seasons. Is ski season, certainly, when you have all the ski resorts open up on the hill, and if
That makes
someone doesn't want
sense.
to stay on the hill, they're staying in Carson City, or you're there mostly during the summer, where Lake Tahoe, but also there's Virginia City, which is like an old west amazing town frozen in time. You've got
Really?
so much within driving distance of Carson City that if you make Carson City your base, you have Tahoe, you go over the hill, you've got Placerville, you've got Sacramento, you can go out to San Francisco, you can come back, you can go up to Virginia City. Like there's so much living that you can do in that area. And I think that's the special thing about Carson City is it teaches you how to live. I learned how to be there versus just how to do.
Interesting. How to be. So it forces you to be more present and then offers
Mhm.
everything to allow someone to find themselves. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah. Oh, everything, everything. I really enjoyed and I was not the massive outdoorsman and a sports outdoorsman especially, but you're in such proximity to world-class mountain biking. There's a mountain bike race that happens there every year. That Lance Armstrong was in, for goodness sakes. I
That's
mean, that's
amazing.
so cool, right?
That is cool.
So, in a off-road mountain biking race was there. There's world-class hiking, there's boating, there's parasailing, I mean, just you just kind of name it in terms of outdoor activities, skiing, snowboarding. It's every sport and seasonal, so the seasons change, so it's time for new sport. I'd like to say though that theater was my winter sport. I acted on
Uh,
stage with the Proscenium Players. I was also on their board for a short period of time. They
wow.
are the longest running theater company. I think, I don't want to misspeak and say in Nevada, but definitely in that region of Nevada. They've been around over 50 years in continuous operation, Proscenium Players, and they act out of the Brewery Arts Center. They're the house company for the Brewery Arts Center, which is kind of a collaborative art space with an art gallery, theater company. They sell the most amazing chocolates in there. It's
It's
just,
always a nice
again, it's
bonus.
just like, it's a
So much
Hallmark
culture.
town through and through.
It sounds amazing. So it has all the culture and then all the activities as well. So it's a nice
Yeah,
balance of everything basically.
it really does. And then you have Reno. And and I mentioned so many cities and I didn't even mention Reno, which is 25 miles away. And
Oh,
that's
close.
where all the major artists come in for concerts. And you just get so much out of Reno as well. And festivals, the River Festival, like there's just a lot. But there's a richness of life if you're living there, but if you're a tourist, there's a lot of choice.
I
But
like
it's not
that.
so much choice that like you're running yourself ragged, you know? You can really enjoy it at such a pace that you can hand select and cultivate what activities things you want to do. The V&T railroad, you can ride on a real steam train. I used to be an
Oh,
actress on the Polar Express over Christmas, and the Polar Express, just like the Tom Hanks
oh
movie, and
yeah.
yeah, and
That's amazing.
it's a real steam train that you can get on with singing and dancing elves and chefs and the whole production.
What an
And you meet
experience.
Santa over Christmas, and sometimes there's actual snow, and just there's
It's like
few
a
places
Hallmark
I
movie.
think that are just more magical, truly.
It does. It literally sounds like a Hallmark movie, like a scene
Oh,
from a
it
movie.
does. And but it's so unassuming too, because I distinctly remember when my ex-husband came to Carson City with me when I had, uprighted the ship, and I'm like, okay, I've ended up here. He looks around and he's like, well, this is where dreams come to die.
He
We're
said
coming, we're
that.
we're going back to LA because this is where dreams come to die. And I could not disagree more because you don't have the rat race, because you don't have a lot of the trappings, you have something different. And I think
Wow.
it will make anyone who really just kind of attaches to the material nature of life, of the haves and have-nots and all of that, are going to be real turned off by Carson City. And that's fine. And that's
Wow.
perfectly fine because if you are not ready or willing to come home to yourself, and like I love Kama Coffee there. Kama Coffee is the coolest coffee shop. It's a big, huge loft ceiling coffee
Oh,
shop
I
with
love places like that.
Alice in Wonderland inscriptions all around. Um, June, the owner, she puts these skeletons all around. And during the pandemic, it was hilarious because during social distancing, she put the skeletons in the seats so that people
Oh,
wouldn't
that's
sit next to each
funny.
other and so that
Smart
people can
though.
still come in. But it was hilarious. And
That is funny.
it was fun being there during the pandemic because we all just kind of made the best of it. We even had the flat truck concert series where, oh yeah, this is
What
great. The
is that?
Brewery Arts Center had a concert grant, right? And the concert grant was still there. So they bought a flatbed truck. I don't know if they bought or rented or it was somebody's, but they got a flatbed truck. They put the band on the flatbed
Oh,
truck,
that's cool.
released a city map to where the concerts were gonna be driving around so
Oh, it was
people
like
could come outside their houses and enjoy live music.
moving concert.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and
Wow, very
that's the
unique.
kind of special kind of Carson City bubble things that happen. And I do feel like when I go back, I'm in a little bit of a bubble. And I do go back. I still own my house there.
Oh, good. Oh, and it sounds like a special place. And
Mhm.
I love how you said it's so symbolic because it makes people look inwards instead of being distracted outwardly.
Yeah.
Uh, so everyone's very genuine, and I can imagine very self-aware and a lot of very united. It sounds like such a
Mhm.
special place.
Oh, another thing that happened is, like you say, United. There was a restaurant, still is a restaurant. They're still around. They're called Sassafras, and they're over by the Carson Hot Springs now. But before they were downtown, and a situation had happened where they were going to need to leave their space. And I kid you not, the community comes together for an event called Save Our Sass,
No.
and all the community, like our theater group sold brownies and cookies, and we at the Brewery Arts Center parking lot, we all had
Wow.
little booths and did a fundraiser to save them so that they could move over by the hot springs, and that's where they still are today.
That is a beautiful story. That's literally like a movie in itself.
It is. It really, really is. And even with all that, in 2023, I found myself doing a meditation session. And actually, I just revisited it today prior to the episode. And it said, what do I need to do to find joy in Carson City or figure out where else to move? So even despite
Powerful.
all that, I was in a place in early 2023, 3 years ago, really actually almost to the date, where I was feeling restless and I was feeling like, and I think it really comes down to wherever you go, there you are. And
That's powerful.
it is, and there were some things that I was going through 3 years ago as I was going through my doctorate program, as I was, feeling the pressure of all that and what's next, and how do I need to become once I'm a doctor and all of that, where these voices of the trappings were starting to nya, 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 in my ear, like, are you doing enough? Are you? And it shifted from that being that just made me fall so in love with Carson City to this doing mindset. So even 3 years ago, even despite all of that community and all that love and all of that, you know, option, found myself sitting in the middle of my floor crying, my best friend picking me up off the floor because I was lonely and because I was striking out in the dating world there and something was not right. So it's interesting because, you talk on the show about all these places and what's great about all these places, and your listeners might be going, "Wow, that sounds great. I might want to go there." Or that sounds great. Wow, that sounds so much better than where I am. And it's that simple appreciation now that I am in Austin. The last time I visited Carson City, I came back to Austin and I said, I'm going to approach Austin with a Carson City heart. And approaching Austin with a Carson City heart opened up so much more here for me
Huh.
in terms of getting involved with um, city arts grants and looking at those and attending South by Southwest next week and
Oh, that's
putting
huge.
myself out there and doing so much, but not doing it, not trying to do Carson City like LA,
I
not
see.
trying to do Austin like LA,
So more
but what is the
genuine.
way I need to be to pull the most out of this place? So listeners, if you're listening to this and going, that sounds really cool, maybe I should live there. Where's the best place you've ever lived, and how can you tune in your heart to be on that frequency and look at where you are through a new lens?
I see. I mean, that is great advice because ultimately you're saying to look within, follow your heart, but also recognize the perspective, how they're viewing where they live. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're everywhere we go, everyone we meet has something to add to our greater story. And when I, look across the strata of everywhere I've lived, and I've lived a lot of places, I've lived in three different states, I've lived in various cities throughout those three different states, where I feel closest to my flow was Carson City, but then being reminded that then too, I was a puddle in the floor going, what's next for me?
Ah,
That's the piece where I go, wow, there's something there, something really valuable where we can look through our own city lenses with these eyes of wonder, with these eyes of, I'm going to bring who I was there to where I am now. And when I do that, how do I show up? I show up unafraid to speak and start my column and ask things, unafraid to dance, unafraid to, I was a burner in Nevada. I went to Burning Man and did all of that. But what does it look like to bring that to Austin? What
I
is what
love
does
that.
my authentic self look like? What does authentic Dr. Diane Dye look like versus what should be?
Yes, a
And
lot of
when I,
introspective questions.
yeah, exactly. So I think that we can look at places, but when we look at, and that's what makes travel so fun. I love to travel. It's so neat. But travel also reveals your metal. It reveals
Yes,
what you're made of too.
it does. It brings everything out,
Mhm.
especially road trips.
Yes.
So I've got so many questions. The actually first, Burning Man. What is Burning Man like? Because I've always wondered what that behind the scenes, what it really is like.
So I exposed myself to the Burning Man community before actually going out onto the playa. So for those who don't know, Burning Man is way more than a festival. You tend to think of it as a festival because, well, that's what the Instagram models show you, right? But Burning Man is actually based on an ethos of 10 principles. And truly, those 10 principles, but specifically radical inclusion, participation, those two really were the first kind of chips in my social anxiety. Because as someone who's neurodivergent, I have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, RSD. And what RSD is where you're highly sensitive to approaching things, trying things, doing things because you fear rejection, you fear being pushed away. Well, in that Burning Man environment with also immediacy, that's the other one. Immediacy means you want to do it, go do it now. Don't pause, don't overthink it,
Ah,
don't get in your head, just go do it. Participation is, this is not a spectator sport. This is not a place where you sit on the outside and you just watch. You're in there, you're doing. You're participating in it, and you're also adding to the community with your own art, your own gift. And radical inclusion means if someone asks to join, you say yes.
That's
So
cool.
with those three things, it started kind of to chip away at the early experiments that I needed to conquer some of this RSD that's in my natural brain. And for any neurodivergents listening to the episode, those three things, if you can cultivate a group or find a community that allows you to do that, and Burning Man certainly is one of them. There's also a number of regionals that pop up around the nation that prescribe to this ethos. But the 10 principles are really this intentional way to set up a community that appears and disappears in the period of a week. And it really is not just a week, it's just that's how long the event is. But it takes so much time at the front end and so much time at the back end, both to set up and to clean up. But leave no trace keeps it incredibly clean, cleaner than any type of large group gathering I have ever seen in my life. And it's because everyone is committed to removing what we call MOOP, matter out of place. And if
Ah,
imagine if you walked around your town and you adopted that ethos of, you know what, if I see something, I'm not going to make that somebody else's problem. I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. Carson City, I think, is very clean for that reason. I think Reno, Carson City, they call it, the gateway because it really is Carson City and Reno. Reno specifically is really the last big city before you head out and then
oh
you
yeah.
take a turn toward Gerlach, which the small town right next to the playa is called Gerlach. And there's a restaurant there and some gas stations and things like that. But when you're talking about your big place with your bigger hotels, that's Reno. But I think Burning Man is really, really special. It's also a 501c3 nonprofit, so I don't know if
I
your
didn't know
listeners know
that.
that,
Wow.
but it's a nonprofit, and that nonprofit does all sorts of other projects. They have Burners Without Borders that teaches the ethos in other areas. There's art projects,
Huh.
also art grants as well.
I
So
didn't know. It had
yeah,
so
yeah.
many
So
in the ethos, so many principles and values and lessons.
yeah,
That's
exactly, exactly.
beautiful.
So I think that, just like a lot of things in our world right now, it's become polarized. It's become polarized and glamorized and all of the above. But what it really boils down to is it's a way to try on a new way of being for a week. And just like Carson City, anything you want is available, and you can participate however you want. There's also a Kidsville, and there's kids there,
Oh wow.
and
I
yeah,
didn't know
people
that. I thought it was
and
just
the
adults.
the little Black Rock scouts have and merit badges and all that cuteness. So and there's areas of town as well, and there's a fantastic neighborhood, and there's anything that you would find in a city.
Everything.
Everything, well, including the city problems. So the sensationalist thing that you hear about Burning Man, they're available in any city. I mean, you really, when you bring together 70,000 people some years and you put them all together for a week from all different parts of the world and then you disappear them, you're back to where they came from. It's gonna be, there's gonna be a lot of stories that come out of that. And I
I have
just,
heard some stories.
well, yeah, I think everybody
Definitely.
has, and I think that can either make people lean into like, what is this, and want to know more, or it can make them very afraid. And it's anywhere you travel, anywhere you decide to go. Another myth about Burning Man is that it's a bartering situation. It's not bartering. It's gifting without expectation of return. Which, how
Ah,
wonderful if we were to
even
practice
better.
that in our daily lives, right? Gifting without expectation of return, no strings. The only thing you can buy is ice. I think once upon a time you used to be able to buy coffee and tea, but I don't know if they do that anymore. I haven't been in a few years. the last time I was on Playa, I was still getting my doctorate, and I had the Skylink internet, and
Oh, I
whew,
see.
that was really challenging. That was
Can
incredibly
imagine.
challenging to try to accomplish all that. So I suggest anyone who wants to go do that, leave your life outside the gates and come with no expectations and ready just to discover it's. I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to say
I
about
like
Carson
that.
City too. Just come with no expectations,
Just to
lower
be
your
present.
expectations, drop into your heart, and just be ready and willing to say yes to what the town has for you.
I mean, that's symbolic of life, just to not have expectations and just show up and just live. I love that. I
Oh,
love that.
yeah, yeah. It's a hard way to live because we are so outcomes focused. I'm going to
Yes.
do this and that and that, and here's the grand life plan. And I think that was a beautiful part of me coming to Carson City was that it blew up my life plan. My life plan was blown to smithereens, and I had really no other choice but to live this new way. And it was a discovery. I got sober for 5 years. So, and we're not talking about, sort of sober. We're talking like 100% sober off of any drug,
Nice.
alcohol, anything,
That's good.
anything. So, I did have coffee. So, I went
Oh yeah.
sober, not Mormon. Um,
Little caffeine doesn't hurt.
yeah, but that was part of the exploration as well. And I think when you're in a container where people encourage the best version of you to come out, and I still have some wonderful friends there in Carson City and Reno and South Lake Tahoe and Gardnerville, which is another cutesy little town. Minden, Gardnerville are so cute. Heading toward California in the other direction. But you are so close to California in Carson City. You are so close to Bodie, a ghost town that's in California,
Another
up the
ghost town.
mountains in
Oh, that.
California, and then South Lake Tahoe is California. It's not Nevada. And there is a Nevada side where there's the casinos
Yes.
and all of that as well. But it's amazing when you lose the Vegas cachet, how quickly you strip away from the sparkle of gambling and realize that too is a option.
It's funny how Nevada is the opposite. Most of it is the opposite of Vegas. So Vegas is like not representative of the state at all, aside from the tourist, Like, is that correct? It's the
Well, and
only
I think
place.
that Vegas is boiled down to like Fremont Street and the Strip, and that's not true of Vegas either.
Ah,
I think that it's Vegas is a great place in its own right because there's a lot of shows, there's a lot of concerts. My friend just went and saw Nine Inch Nails there last night. I was invited, but I decided to not go because that would have been a completely different podcast.
uh, I
But
understand.
but truly, Vegas gets a bad rap too. You have Henderson, you have the Hoover Dam, which of course is great and in its own right, a architectural wonder
Oh yeah,
there. It's it's a I've never lived in Vegas, but from what I can say about Vegas as well is like any big city with a tourist attraction, there's a separation, right? A lot of locals, they'll take their friends and family down to Fremont Street or the Strip or whatever if they want to go. But there's so many local nuggets and finds there that are not the tourist trap too. I think you can say for the entire state of Nevada that people, they just are who they are. Whether you're in Las Vegas or you're in Elko, which is the far eastern, or you're in Carson City or Reno or anywhere in between because there's so much land and small town in between. I think you are just who you are. It's where I
Authentic.
learned how to be unapologetically myself. And that stage of my life was just so important so that I could move forward and just drop the mask, drop the facade. There if you follow me on TikTok at Dr. Diane Dye, sometimes I will have coffee with executives in my pajamas. And
Really?
I think it's Nevada that brought out that, you know what? So there aren't a lot of management consultants having coffee in their pajamas and talking about how
Oh
to
no.
improve people's businesses. But
Oh
I'm
yeah.
totally cool with that. I'm totally cool with that
I like
because
that.
that's just me. But it's bringing my Carson City heart to whatever I'm doing now. And regardless of whether someone visits there or decides to live there, I like to say that Carson City has a little bit of a polarizing effect on a life. It will either elevate you farther than you have ever been, or you will hit the dregs. And
So it
I've seen a
really
lot
is.
of people hit the dregs too.
So it really is. People. It forces you to look within, and then they
Hmm.
either overcome things and build and grow, or kind of run away from it or don't deal with
Or
it. Is
go the
that?
opposite direction. I mean, my
I see.
ex-husband bolted. He was like, I can't do this. Pew!
That makes sense.
I and for me, I'm like, wow, this is the first time I remember very clearly. The first time I visited Carson City was on one of my editorial visits. And I was at Jimmy G's Cigar Bar, which are two cigar bars in Carson City. They call it the old cigar bar and the new one. The new one's on the main drag
Nice,
there, and
nice and
the old
simple.
one is tucked away on Curry Street. But I was at the new cigar bar, which isn't all that new. And looking across the street, and at the time there was a club, now it's a brewery, and I told him, I said, I could live here. And he started laughing. But I really feel that's when the universe said, okay, and rearranged everything. Like everything just rearranged kind of in that moment. So watch what you say when you're visiting places that you
Yeah,
feel like you really resonate with because you might
it's
just end up moving there.
words are powerful too. Yeah.
Hmm.
Actually, a random question, but I'm curious. Are there any local sayings in Nevada or Carson City? Like any kind of
Local
slogans?
sayings.
Yeah, like slogans in a sense,
Well, I
expressions.
mean, I think the bumper sticker of uh it's Nevada, not Nevada. That is definitely a biggie for that area.
I
You know,
see.
other than that, it's not like Austin where it's like keep Austin weird or
Yes.
you know, I think that there's not really a slogan per se,
No,
but a lot of people just say I love Carson City.
I have
It's
seen that
it's got a
actually.
oh, there's a lot of heart. There's a lot of heart to the area. So, I love Carson City. I don't know what the current tourism slogan is, but I actually used to say, and it's not a citywide adopted thing, but I used to say it's easy to be excellent here.
Wow, it's easy to be excellent here.
Yeah, it is.
Huh.
However you define excellent, it's easy to be excellent here. You don't have a lot of dog eat dog. You have a lot of people who are behind you, supporting you, lifting you up. Friendships are real and deep, and it's just in that way easy to be excellent there. So
So
that's what I say
genuine.
about it.
I mean, I love that because it sounds like the community supports everyone, like the way it should be.
Mhm.
With the story of the cafe, that's so cool. Um, what are the small everyday things you've grown to love about when you lived there?
Yeah, I really loved just how close everything was. Like it's not that big of a town. it's not that big of a town. I don't know clocking the population, but it's somewhere around 55,000. It's not
Oh,
that big of a town.
very
So
small.
everything is really close. So the small everyday kind of things for me was sitting out on my back porch and looking at the mountains because I
Ah,
had a mountain
yeah.
view from, I do have a mountain view. I still have my house. So there's a mountain view from the back porch and having friends over and not having to go anywhere per se, but having friends who would come over and sit on the back porch with me and just talk.
That's so cool.
Having these majority small town businesses that do things with such heart. So going into the coffee shop, and for the longest time, my friend Tara knew my name, and I didn't know her name. She's like, "Hey," like, ah.
Ah,
you know, and
yeah. No, that's nice
she's
though.
still my friend. I know her name now, and but it's the little everyday things of going somewhere and running into somebody and for people who aren't into that, who want to be more anonymous, Carson City isn't the place. But even like I was at Eve's Eatery, and Eve's is my one of my favorite places for brunch in town. It's right there on the main drag, and I struck up a conversation at the bar at Eve's with a couple that were just traveling through from, I think they were from Northern California, and they just kind of did a day trip, wanted to check it out. And we just struck up this conversation and we exchanged contact information. And it was really nice because like you said, when you had your stopover, when your brakes blew out, and people are just generally everyday approachable. I was friends with all the local bar owners. I was friends with the guy who runs the Poke Bowl, Poke Beach,
That's nice.
and
Everybody knew each other.
people know your order. It's just sweet. It's sweet in so many ways, and then also in so many ways you're always discovering something new that's small and special.
Hmm. I never realized, I wish I had more time there. I never realized, I know it was a special place, but I didn't realize how much it has to offer. That's so cool. Um, I wanted to ask with food, is there any specific dish or food that represents the state? How like Kentucky they have like Louisville they have like the Kentucky, I think it's called like the brown, it's like a sandwich or something. Is there anything like unique like that, or is
Oh,
food
the
not really?
awful awful.
Oh, really?
You've got to have an awful awful at the Nugget.
No way. What is that?
Yeah. So
Awful
the
up?
awful waffle, it's just a burger. It's just a burger, but it's a just a really juicy big burger that's like I think it's a double stacked burger. I haven't had one in a while. It's one of those artery crushers.
Oh,
But
oh,
the awful for sure
the
is
awful
is a
awful. Okay.
is a Carson City nugget staple for sure. And I think when they also have it in the little tiny Reno one as well. That's the awful waffle.
I'm gonna remember that. Are there any other hidden gems that you'd recommend, like restaurants or cafes, aside from that one you mentioned? That sounds
Oh
so nice.
gosh. Well, so many. I already mentioned sassafras.
Sassafras.
Garibaldi's is fantastic for Italian food. The basil is great for Vietnamese food. My bar in Carson City was the Blue Bowl,
The
and the
Blue
Blue
Bowl.
Bowl is your typical dive. Amazing dive. It literally has an animatronic bull head on the wall.
Uh,
During
it
the
moves back
pandemic,
and
the
forth.
bull wore the mask.
That's funny. It sounds like it's
It's
got a personality. The city has a lot of
there was
personality.
so much percent comma coffee for coffee. I let's gosh, so many places that are just they're good. The the Mexican food is different though. I just kind of a word to the wise for Mexican food. If you're interested in Mexican food, but you're used to California Mex or
Uh,
Tex-Mex or traditional Mex, it's different there. We call it, it's a little more tomatoey, call it kind of mountain Mex.
oh,
And
interesting. So
um,
it's not authentic then. It's like its own
there
version.
is some. My
Okay.
favorite menudo is on College Parkway, and it's in the old Chili's. And my gosh, I can't remember the name, but it's good.
Hmm. I didn't know that they had their
I could
own
look it
Mexican
up and you
food.
can put it in the show notes. But
Yeah, let me know.
when I get sick, I have to have either chicken tortilla soup or some really good menudo, and they make the menudo, man. There's also
Really?
a lady in town in Carson City. She's called the Lady Tamales. And in her first iteration, before she had her restaurant, she actually used to go into the local businesses, the bars, and sell people tamales. So I'd be sitting in a bar,
Smart.
and in comes the Lady Tamales, and everyone would buy their tamales.
Smart. I mean, people can't refuse that when they've been drinking. It's a good
Yeah,
bar food.
yeah. It's probably why I had to get sober for 5 years.
Uh,
Thank goodness she opened a restaurant.
oh yeah, no, that's cool. The city sounds like it has so much heart. And then with the Mexican food, I didn't know they had their own little style of Mexican food. That's really
Hmm,
interesting.
hmm. And
Mountain
it's such a
Mex.
healing place too. There's a meditation center called Serenity. My friend Christine, she runs a the town's only ketamine clinic,
Oh,
ketamine therapy. So it's a place where you can go and there's lots of medical care. There's opportunities for healing and meditation and yoga and all of that as well. And it's really taken with the same community heart as well.
nice. No, that's amazing how like deep it is with the wellness. Sounds like the wellness side as well.
Hmm,
I
hmm.
did not realize it was such a deep place.
You
Wow.
know, and I don't think you know until you know. And then when you know, you feel like some sort of like insider. You're like, wow, this place is, but it's it's a gem. It really is. I would really equate it to, one of those rocks that you bust open and inside it's like a geode and it's just so pretty. But you have to dare to bust open the rock. And you have, outside Carson City, what you see when you come into town, you see the Railroad Museum, you see the legislature and the legislative lawn with all the statues. You do see the plaza and the main street. And people will tell you about the hot springs, which is the natural hot springs that, springs up actually from the ground
Oh,
underwater. And every night they drain it back down into the spring and then they pull it back up into the pools every day.
that's
and
amazing.
and all of that. And Shoe Tree Brewery is right there's a little complex with the hot springs and sassafras and Shoe Tree Brewery, and all of that is in one little pocket. But you might miss those pockets unless you're listening to this podcast, unless you know the deal. Sometimes you don't know, and there is a visitor center right there on the main street as well, on the main drag, and you can go in there and there's a lot you can learn about and know about, and it's staffed with locals, of course, so you can get that local vibe. But you have to be willing to explore and willing to ask and willing to dig beneath the pages of the book, because when you walk into it you're like, wow, this is cute, but it's really quiet. Like, is there anything going on here? And it's what's going on goes on underneath the surface. And so
I
you really
see.
have to pay attention enough to know and to get curious and to spark your curiosity. But for anyone who's visiting, going into the visitor center is a great way to tap into that. But also, go sit down and talk to a local.
Talk to locals.
Everyone's
Best way.
incredibly friendly, and and open about, where their favorite spots in town are. And I just named my favorite spots, but for all of my favorite spots, there's new things that are opening all of the time.
That's a good
Bella
point.
Vita just moved down onto College Street, and they have a like a deli kind of thing, but there's a little creek outside of
Oh, I love
Bella
that when
Vita,
there's
little just a cute little creek.
natural
And
beauty outside.
yeah, natural, lots of natural beauty and all of that. But sometimes you just have to dig a little bit to find the gems, and I think that's a lesson for life too.
Oh yeah, and I love your example of the rock, the geode, how when you break through, it's like the glistening, the beautiful colors and gemstones inside.
Hmm.
That makes sense. Are there any local hikes or, outdoor spots that seem unreal?
Well, there's the Carson City waterfall, which is a very easy hike. So if you go up Kings Canyon Road, they actually recently refurbished that trail. There's a parking lot, and you can go up some switchbacks, or you can go a less direct way if you want more of a hike. But there is a natural waterfall up there that you can go to,
I didn't
and
know
it's
that.
yeah, yeah. That's
Huh.
and there's also Prison Hill. Prison Hill is a good hike as well, and it's a great place if you're just gonna want to go on like a desert run kind of hike. There's also down the Mexican Dam. There's a whole bunch. There's a trail there that cuts through, and it's down the Carson River because there's a Carson River. Down the Carson River, you can hike, bike, walk alongside that as well.
Nice. A lot of hiking in the area.
Mexican
And the
Dam Trail. Hmm.
Mexican Dan Trail.
Oh,
Huh.
tons of hiking, tons of hiking. There's also a bike path that cuts through town. So you can catch the bike path and just follow it all the way up through, all the way to Prison Hill.
Nice. So it's very like pedestrian friendly, very friendly to
Mhm.
bikers, walkers.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, yeah. There is actually a bike initiative to make Carson City bike friendly as well. And at the visitor center, you can pick up a bikeable Carson City map and know where you can do that.
That's awesome. Sounds like such a friendly place. Huh.
Mhm.
The I was gonna ask, oh yeah, the cost of living. How's the cost of living there? Is it, you know,
It's good. I think that the Bay Area's kind of discovered Carson a little bit. My
okay.
house has definitely gone up in value, which is fantastic news for any property owner. But cost of living isn't terrible. Like anywhere, it's going up. It's not entirely unapproachable, but it's not as cheap as it used to be.
That makes sense because how far is South Lake Tahoe? I can't remember. Is it?
It's just
It's
right up
not.
right up 50. It's about 25 miles.
Oh, that's nothing. No wonder.
25 miles to Reno, 25 miles to South Lake.
That is the perfect location between,
Mhm.
yeah, the mountains and that's nice.
It is. I took a
Um,
beautiful picture from an airplane not long ago. And when you fly over it in an airplane, you see Carson City in the valley, and straight up high, you see Lake Tahoe. So it looks like the lake is a bowl, and then
oh, that's
the
awesome.
table is Carson City.
And I mean, that visual, it really does seem like that geographically too.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
from that is fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, you just go straight up 50 to go into South Lake Tahoe from there. And Round Hill
Wow.
Pines is my favorite beach on the Nevada side of Tahoe, and Zephyr Cove Resort is there, and that's a great beach. And it's beautiful. I think back to that period of time where I was just and I think it came down to I had found myself, and I was ready to find someone else that would love it as much as I did. But, it's loneliness can be a beast, and it can take you away from things that are really quite good for you.
Oh
But I
yeah.
am happy to report I found a partner and I took her to Carson City and she loves it. So
Nice.
maybe
That's
one day,
amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
maybe
I mean,
one
that's the
day
first
I'll
step.
come back.
Yeah, and it's nice you have a home there as well, so you already are
Yep,
established there.
yep.
Perfect. That's awesome. I just have a couple more questions. Oh yes, if the state was a person, how would you describe their personality? Maybe like two or three words.
You know, Nevada is like you're like friend who just like they're just so real. They're just so darn real.
That
You
one
know,
friend
and
that tells you how it is.
they're out and they're partying. They're like talking to everybody, but also they'll like go home and like cuddle up with a book, and then they'll go to an outdoor concert and just kind of soak things in, and then maybe on the weekends they meditate. You know, they're just very balanced. I think and that kind of speaks to everything about the area, the purpleness of the area. It's just very balanced.
I see. Huh. No, that makes sense. Everything you're telling me, it all is coming together now. And
Mhm.
the what is the best, my last question, what is the best advice you'd give someone thinking about moving there? To immerse themselves, jump right in, get below the
Mhm.
surface?
Yeah, well, if you're thinking about moving to Carson City, one, you need to realize that you're not moving to a big city. You're moving to really it's not a small town. Like I grew up in a town with like 3,000 people. That was a small town. Divine, Texas is a small town. This is kind of a mid-sized town that has to be approached differently than a big city. And I didn't really get that as soon as I got there. And I was really kind of ticked off that I had this graphic designer and all she wanted to do on a day that we had something due was go snowmobiling. And I was ticked and she got it done. But people live there not to work. They live there to actually live. And
I
if you
love that.
go there with this mindset, this hard charging, get it done, you're gonna be challenged. You're gonna be challenged. So what I would say is if you're thinking about moving there, go there during the worst part of the year and go there during the best part of the year. I
Good
want you
advice.
to really see it in the swing season, where maybe you've got some cold slush snow stuff going on, but the resorts aren't open and the trails are hard to navigate. And all you have is yourself and the people because some things have been canceled. And go there during that time, and then go there during the summer. Or
I
if you
like that.
ski, go
Good
there during the peak
advice.
of the ski season, or whatever you like best. But don't go there thinking that you're, oh my gosh, I heard about this utopia on this podcast, and now I just really need to go there. And maybe you do, but also it's 55,000 people. Um, you got to bring a certain amount of mindset there that you may not have had to try on in other places. So be willing to meet yourself.
Wow. No, that's great advice. And thank you so much for this episode. I love how you shared so much insight. Definitely gonna help a lot of people. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Diane. That concludes the episode. I'll stop.